What's going on, guys? A few days ago, the NHL Twitter account posted their redraft for the 2011 NHL Draft, and to say the least, a lot of people disagreed with their pick, including me. You guys look at their top 10 here, you can see definitely some questionable ones. So you got Kucherov going first overall, which I think everyone would agree with, but then you got Landeskog at 3. I feel like there's a lot of better players below him on that list. Jordan Binnington at 5. Obviously, he's been a stud the past year and a half, but before then, he was an AHL goalie, so I think it's hard to argue him at 5, especially with Gibson right below. You got Couturier at 7, who should be higher. Brandon Saad at 8. Saad should be like 15, maybe 20. I don't think he should be even close to that high, especially when you look at who he's above. Zibanejad, Huberdeau, guys not even in the top 10 here. If you guys actually want to check out the entire NHL.com's list, I'll have a link to that, but basically it made me think, why not make my own 2011 redraft? As I started thinking about, where I'd put all the picks, so I figured, why not make this into a video? So, starting off here, guys, with pick number 30. This is the Anaheim Ducks pick. Now, before I actually show you guys this pick, I just wanted to mention, originally they took Rickard Rakell with this pick. After making a trade with the Maple Leafs moved up and took Tyler Biggs, who never played a single NHL games. The Ducks dropped back. With the last pick in the first round, they took Rakell, and then with the second round pick they got from the Leafs, they took John Gibson, who you saw was ranked like, what, 6th by the NHL. Rakell obviously is still worthy of a first round pick, so one of the probably biggest fleeces, worst like pick for pick trade I've ever seen. You trade a guy who doesn't play a game in the NHL for one of the best goalies in the league, in my opinion, and probably the best forward on the Mighty Ducks. Like, Burke got absolutely fleeced there. He gets a bunch of crap for the Kessel trade, but in my opinion, it's not even close to being as bad as this trade. But moving on now, guys. So, pick number 30 here, Anaheim Ducks, in a redraft. They're going to take Joel Edmondson. Unfortunately, Rakell is not available for them. Original pick there, number 46. Obviously was taken by the St. Louis Blues later on in the draft, and he's a pretty solid stay-at-home defenseman. No Rakell, but honestly, for the 30th pick in the draft, getting a guy that can play, top 4, bottom pair, I feel like that's a pretty good pick. Next up at pick number 29 with the Vancouver Canucks taking Joel Armia, originally picked number 16 by the Buffalo Sabres. Then I believe he was traded to Winnipeg in that Evander Kane trade before ending up in Montreal. Obviously, pretty solid player, I think, to get number 29. He's definitely started playing a bit better the past few seasons. The Canucks originally picked Nick Jensen with this pick, who never really panned out in the NHL, so kind of get like a better version of him with Joel Armia. And next year, number 28 with the Minnesota Wild taking Ryan Dzingel, one of the biggest rises in this draft, up from 204 to pick 28. So he moved up almost 200 spots. I think he was like the 6th last pick in the draft, which is pretty insane. To now be a first rounder in a redraft is definitely impressive. With Minnesota's original pick, they took Zach Phillips, who never played a single game in the NHL, so obviously it's a much better pick for them. Now moving on to number 27 here, guys, with the Tampa Bay Lightning taking Adam Larson, originally picked number 4, so definitely dropping it quite a bit. And you guys might not know this, but he was actually the lottery pick in this draft, as the Devils won the lottery. But with the old rules, you could only move up so much, so they went up to number 4, took Adam Larson. Not a terrible pick, especially since they were able to trade him for Taylor Hall, but you can see here there's a lot of better players as it turns out. And I think Tampa Bay, though, getting him at 27 isn't too bad at all. They originally took Nemesnikov, who honestly I probably would have like pick 31 to redraft, so he's not going to be on this list. If like Vegas got a first round pick or something, I'd have him number 31, but still I think Larson isn't bad at all for Tampa. Maybe pair him up with Hedman, who's left-handed, Larson's right, both Swedes. Maybe, that'd be a perfect combo, we'll never know. But honestly, I don't think it's too bad a pick for Tampa. And now number 26 here with the Chicago Blackhawks taking Blake Coleman, originally picked number 75, and clearly like the NHL, at least Tampa Bay agrees he's now worthy of a first round pick, as they just trade a first round pick for him with the Devils. That was the original team that drafted him. Chicago here originally drafted Philip Deneau, who you guys will see later on this list, so they get a bit of a worse player here, but Coleman's still very solid, especially for late first rounder. Kind of good two-way guy, can score, kind of does it all for you. So pick number 26. Don't really think Blackhawks can be upset with that. Now, pick number 25 with the Toronto Maple Leafs taking Andrew Shaw, originally picked number 139 by the Chicago Blackhawks. I feel like he's your perfect Brian Burke player. He's got that grit. He goes in the corners, does everything Burke wants. Unfortunately for Burke, though, he originally took Stuart Percy, who I think played like 2 games in the NHL. Definitely another swing and a miss. And moving on to number 24 here, the Ottawa Senators taking Boone Jenner, originally picked number 37, so moving up a little bit. I feel like he's a solid middle 6 guy, low-end second liner, high-end third liner, solid two-way guy, just kind of does everything for your team. Ottawa actually originally took Matt Pumple with this pick, which I was super pumped for, as he's from Essex, which is a town kind of right near Windsor, so local guy. And he actually plays for the Red Wings AHL team now, so unfortunately it didn't quite pan out as a first-round pick. Jenner would have definitely been a better selection for the Senators. And next year, pick number 23, the Penguins taking Jean-Gabriel Pageau, originally picked number 96, so he went from an early 4th rounder to a late 1st rounder. Definitely a big rise for him and well-deserved. Solid top 6 forward, can play power play, can play penalty kill. And again, similar to Blake Coleman, clearly NHL believes he's also worthy of a first-round pick now. Islanders gave like a first-rounder, I think, plus like a second or a third. I forget the trade, but they gave up quite a bit to get him from the Senators. So Penguins make out a lot better here. Original pick was Joe Morrow, who's like bottom pair D-man, fringe NHLer. Shows a much better choice. And next up, guys, at pick number 22 with the Maple Leafs taking Josh Manson. Again, I think this is another pick Brian Burke would just love. He's just your big defenseman. You can play on the power play, can play PK, top 4 guy, does whatever. Ducks actually got him in the 6th round. And while I was editing, guys, I realized the Ducks actually took Josh Manson with the Leafs 6th round pick after trading their 2012 6th for the Leafs 2011 6th. So I just feel bad for Leafs at this point. I feel like, honestly, Brian Burke should just let Bob Murray make his picks. Looking actually back at this draft, the Ducks draft was insane. I'm actually going to show you guys later on how good it was. But as I already mentioned, originally Maple Leafs took Tyler Biggs with this pick. Didn't play a single NHL game, so Josh Manson, much better pick. And next up, guys, we have the Senators with their 2nd pick in this draft. They actually have 3 total, and with pick number 21, they take Philip Deneau, original pick 26, as already mentioned. So he moves up a little bit. I feel like in the last few years, he's really established himself as a solid top 6 forward for the Montreal Canadiens. Now, with the Senators' original pick in this draft, they took Stefan Noesen, who is like a decent NHLer, more of a bottom 6 guy. I think he was even in the AHL for a bit, so obviously getting Deneau here, huge upgrade. Now with pick number 20, with the Arizona Coyotes taking Ryan Strome, originally taken pick number 5. I feel like if Arizona took Ryan Strome, they'd probably never trade Dylan, but this was a really tough one to rank. I feel like if they're getting the Islanders Ryan Strome, this is probably around where he goes. If they get the Edmonton Oilers Ryan Strome, this is way too high. And then if you get the Rangers Ryan Strome, this is probably a steal. So, you know, looking at it that way, pick number 20 probably makes sense. Basically, looking at everyone above him on this list I'm about to name, I feel like probably rather have them all than Ryan Strome, but you guys can be the judge. And I almost forgot to mention the original pick was Connor Murphy, who's basically like a bottom pair NHLer at this point, so Strome would definitely be an upgrade. So moving on to number 19 now, with the Edmonton Oilers taking a Swedish defenseman. Originally they took Clefbaum. This time they're taking Jonas Brodin. Original pick there, number 10, so dropping a little bit. I feel like Brodin's a solid top 4 defenseman. Oilers fans definitely couldn't complain. In my opinion, I'd probably rather have Clefbaum than Brodin, but you know, the difference there is not too bad. I feel like the Oilers still make out pretty well. And now number 18 with the Chicago Blackhawks taking Vincent Trocheck, solid top 6 forward. Obviously, we just got traded to Carolina Hurricanes. I forget exactly what the trade was, but I think it was like a second, some other stuff. So you could say his value is probably a 1st round pick. Original pick there, number 64, so an early 3rd rounder. Obviously, a very good player. He's a good 2-way guy, can put up points. I think Chicago's original pick with this one was Mark McNeil, 2 NHL games played. Probably the worst pick in this draft, along with Tyler Biggs and Zach Phillips, who had no games played. So Trocheck's a much better option for them. Now, pick number 17, we already mentioned it. The Montreal Canadiens taking Rickard Rakell, originally picked number 30 by the Ducks. I feel like this is an awesome pick for the Montreal Canadiens. You could have him play center, although he's a bit more than a winger, so it'd kind of be another discussion where they don't have a true center, but still a very good player. The original pick here was Nathan Beaulieu, who's like a solid bottom pair defenseman, I'd say, in the NHL. Almost 400 games played, but Rakell, obviously, a much better player. Already mentioned, best forward on the Ducks in my opinion right now. Maybe Getzlav, but obviously depends what kind of season those two guys are having. But I think Rakell going to Montreal at 17, great pick. And now at number 16, with the Buffalo Sabres taking Andre Palat, originally picked number 208. So he moved up 192 spots in the draft, the biggest riser by far. Originally picked with the 4th last pick in the draft, very end of the 7th round. So absolutely insane. Tampa Bay, of course, just always finds those steals. Now, at number 16, I think this makes a lot of sense. Him and Rakell were very close, but I feel like Palat's just been a bit more consistent throughout his career. And originally, Buffalo, we already mentioned, took Joel Armia with this pick, who they ended up trading, went to Montreal. Not doing too bad there, but Palat, definitely a better player. So Buffalo makes out better in the redraft. And now at number 15, guys, the New York Rangers taking Brandon Saad. I mentioned how the NHL had him ranked 8th in this redraft, which I thought was way too high. Originally picked there, number 43, which is 2nd round pick, which awesome value, of course, to the Blackhawks. Now, Saad still is a solid player. Top 6 guy, can do it all for you. Has dropped off a little bit in the past couple seasons, but I feel like the Rangers will still be pretty happy with this pick. Now, originally, though, they took JT Miller, so the original pick was actually better in my opinion. Miller having a great year right now for the Canucks. Saad's just okay for the Blackhawks. Not too much separation there, but still losing out a bit of value, I think, for the Rangers. Now, number 14, with the Dallas Stars taking Oscar Klefbom, as I already mentioned, originally taken number 19 by the Oilers, so he's moving up a little bit. In my opinion, he's probably the 2nd best defenseman from this draft class. The Dallas Stars actually selected another defenseman with this original pick, Jamie Alexiak, who It's like an okay bottom pair D-man. I feel like he's big. That's it. That's his big trait, right? Where Clefbaum's actually a pretty good scorer, solid defenseman, especially when he's healthy, I think. When you look at the Oilers defense, they play a lot better with him in the lineup. So if you can look past the injury concerns, I think 14 makes a lot of sense for Clefbaum. Now number 13, we have Jordan Binnington. I mentioned I thought 5 for him was a bit high. Still, though, I have him 13. And I mean, that's based on a year and a half of NHL play. That's pretty crazy. I originally picked there number 88, so that's a late third rounder by the St. Louis Blues. Took him a while, grinding out the AHL. Almost went to the ECHL. I don't know if you guys saw that Twin Chicklets podcast. Pretty funny, but finally gets called up, wins the Stanley Cup. Crazy run. So 13 there for the Flames. This actually makes a lot of sense. I went and checked, and back then, Kiprusoff was their goalie, who at this point I think was like 36 years old. So they'd just be looking for a replacement for him. Jordan Binnington at 13, I think, is a great pick. Now, it does take him a while to, get ready for the NHL, but once he does, he helps lead the Flames to a Stanley Cup last year. Now, with the Flames' original pick here, they took Sven Barchi, who isn't a terrible pick when you look at some of the other ones. He'd probably be another guy just outside the first round, similar to Messickov, probably an early second-round pick. But Jordan Binnington, especially if maybe the Flames give him more of a chance than St. Louis does, at 13 is an absolute steal. And issue number 12, the Carolina Hurricanes taking William Karlsson, originally taken with pick number 53 by the Anaheim Ducks. A lot of people don't know that. They think Blue Jackets drafted him, but not the case. Like I was mentioning, Ducks draft was just unreal. So Karlsson, this was kind of a tough one. I'm at number 12, as I feel like he has a higher ceiling than the guys you previously mentioned. And when you're drafting, ceiling's kind of what you're looking for. You're looking at what is their best potential. If Karlsson can kind of remake that magic that happened that first year in Vegas, then he's just insane. Obviously, he's come down a bit the last couple years, but still, over the past few seasons, one of the best scorers on the PK. He had 40 goals that first year in Vegas. He was their best forward, honestly, in their run to that Stanley Cup. So if they can kind of recreate that in Carolina, I think pick 12 for Karlsson makes a lot of sense. Also, too, if you look at Carolina's actual pick in 2011, it was Ryan Murphy, who was another guy that was just kind of all upside. Unfortunately, didn't really pan out. So them going with William Karlsson here just makes even more sense. Now, number 11 here, guys, the Colorado Avalanche taking JT Miller. Already mentioned earlier, he was originally taken pick number 15 by the Rangers. I think this is a great pick for them. He's looked really good this year playing in Vancouver with Peterson, so I'm sure he can recreate that in Colorado playing with McKinnon. Now, the Avs' original pick in this spot was actually Duncan Siemens, which, again, another big swing and a miss. He was supposed to be like this, big defensive prospect coming into the draft, but it didn't pan out at all. So the Avs getting JT Miller here, as well as their second overall pick, you guys will see in a couple of minutes. Now, it won't be Landeskog, because I actually have him going pick number 10 here, the Minnesota Wild. Obviously, originally pick number 2, and I feel like this is a great pick for them. They originally took Jonas Brodin, which isn't a bad pick, but Landeskog at number 10, I think, is a much better pick, especially when, he was originally the number 2 pick. They'd probably be freaking out here getting Landeskog, although the guys that got picked before him are much, much better. Still, though, I think Landeskog has a much bigger impact on the Wild than Brodin does, especially just because Minnesota had so many good defensemen for so long. Suter, Spurgeon, they probably just keep Scandella. Landeskog, I think, makes a lot more sense. Help out that forward group. And we got number 9 here, the Boston Bruins taking Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, originally the first overall pick. So he drops a bit there to number 9, so 8 spots for the first overall, which is quite a bit, but 2011 draft just had so much talent in it. And I mean, going into it, Nuge was pretty much the consensus first overall, so you can't really blame Edmonton too much. If anything, they might have taken Larson over Nugent-Hopkins, which is what some people are saying they should have done. Obviously, that would have been much worse. So Nuge at number 1 isn't too bad. Following number 9 here to the Bruins, I think, is a great pick. Now, they originally got Dougie Hamilton at number 9, which I think is an even better pick, as he's actually higher on this draft board, but still, you can't be too upset with the former number 1. Nuge, very good, top 6 forward, great two-way game. I think he's got amazing hockey IQ, hands. He's the first overall pick for a reason. Even if he's a lower end first overall pick, he's still a first overall pick. So number 9, I think Bruins fans can't be too upset. Now number 8 here, we have Mika Zibanejad going to the Philadelphia Flyers. Originally picked number 6 by the Senators, so he just drops a little bit. It was really tough, honestly, to decide between like him, Nuge, Landeskog. I feel like Nuge had a bit better two-way game than Landeskog that pushed him up. I feel like Zibanejad's a bit better scorer than Nuge. I think gave him a bit more of a push, especially the last couple years. Zibanejad's looked so good. Definitely kind of helped him out. If we were doing this 2 years ago, I think Nuge would be above Zibanejad, but he's just been, like, this season especially, on fire. So the Flyers get Zibanejad there, which is a great pick. Now, originally, they actually took Sean Couturier with this pick, which I think is an even better pick, as you guys will see. But still, you can't be too upset, honestly, with either or. Number 7 here, we have John Gibson going to the Winnipeg Jets. Originally taken pick number 39, again, by the Ducks. As I mentioned, Their draft class, guys, was insane in 2011. We're going to go look at it right now. You can see they have 4 first rounders essentially taken in that draft in a redraft. They got John Gibson, who I just mentioned. They got Raquel, they got William Karlsson, and they got Josh Manson. So they only picked once in the first round, and it was the last pick in the first round. And in that draft, they got 4 first round talents. Honestly, an amazing job done by the Ducks scouting staff. Now, as I mentioned, John Gibson here goes number 7 to the Winnipeg Jets. I think that's a great pick for them. We went and looked back at it. I think they had Pavlich as their starter, who never really turned out to be that great of a starter. So Gibson was their goalie. Obviously, Hellebuyck ends up emerging. They basically had their choice to trade one of those guys for something insane. But maybe if they had Gibson, because Hellebuyck, I think, kind of became a starter later on, they would have been competing a bit earlier. So I think Gibson makes a lot of sense for Winnipeg. Now, the original pick for Winnipeg was Mark Scheifele, which I'd rather have Scheifele than Gibson, as you guys will see, but I think John Gibson's still a very solid pick at number 7. Now, number 6 here, we have the Ottawa Senators taking Jonathan Huberdeau, originally taken number 3 by the Florida Panthers. So Huberdeau, I think, is a great player, similar to Barkov. Everyone that's good, basically, that plays in Florida, definitely a little bit underappreciated. This year especially, and last year, he's just been insane. So I feel like they do a little bit better here getting Huberdeau instead of Zibanejad. Maybe they never trade him either for Derek Brassard, hopefully, as well, too, for Huberdeau, obviously, from Quebec. So basically stays home there playing for Ottawa. And like I mentioned, not only do I think Huberdeau's a bit better than Zibanejad, but hopefully if they draft Huberdeau, they don't trade him for Brassard, which obviously would be the best thing there for the Sens. And now number 5 here, the Islanders taking Dougie Hamilton. Like I mentioned, originally picked number 9 by the Boston Bruins. I feel Dougie Hamilton is the best defenseman in this draft. It's crazy actually to me that NHL.com didn't have him in the top 10. Like, he's just such a good defenseman. He's big, he's offensive, he does it all. He can play top pair minutes for you. Like, it's kind of insane. Obviously, there are some questions about like his work ethic and stuff like that, which is why he got traded a couple times. Boston, Calgary, Carolina. But I feel like you can't underestimate his talent. Like, the dude is so good. I feel number 5 for him. Going to the Islanders as well, who really until Ryan Pollock didn't have a solid kind of younger defenseman to build around. Great pick for them, and definitely, you know, a better pick than the original pick there of Ryan Strome. Now, number 4 here, guys. This one is kind of just a perfect pick. The New Jersey Devils take Johnny Gaudreau, who's actually from New Jersey, so how perfect would that be? Originally picked number 104 there by the Flames, so he actually moves up exactly 100 spots. Obviously, the Devils actually did this back in 2011. People be freaking out, saying, what are you doing, taking the local kid? I know he's local, but this high in the draft. As it turns out, a much better pick than Adam Larson, although they then flipped Larson for Taylor Hall. Would you rather have Johnny Gaudreau or Taylor Hall? Those are 2 of the top 5 best left wingers in the NHL. That's a good debate right there, but still, if they don't make that trade, Gaudreau is a much better pick, obviously, than Larson. Now, number 3 here, already mentioned him, we have Sean Couturier going to the Florida Panthers. I think Sean Couturier is one of the best two-way players in the NHL. He's also a solid scorer, good center. He's the reason why he's playing first-line center on the Flyers. They moved Giroux to the wing for Couturier. He's another guy who I think is sometimes underrated for whatever reason, but as I mentioned, a very good player, well-deserving number 3 on this list. Panthers originally took Huberdeau, which is a very good pick, but I think Couturier would have been an even better pick. And what's kind of crazy, actually, is that back in 2011, or I guess 2010, Couturier was supposed to be the first overall, kind of like the season before, similar to Nolan Patrick in 2017, the year before. Everyone thought he was going to be first overall, and then for whatever reason, I honestly can't remember, it was almost a decade ago, during the season, his kind of draft stock kept dropping, and I remember thinking, like, I think it was number 6. He's going to go to Winnipeg. They need a center. He's got to go to Winnipeg. And instead they took Mark Scheifele. And at the time I thought, what are you doing taking Scheifele? Well, the Jets knew what they were doing because I have Scheifele going number 2 here to the Avalanche. I think both those guys actually dropped probably too much in that draft. And originally, like I said, pick number 7 by the Jets. The Avalanche end up getting Scheifele and JT Miller here, opposed to Landeskog and Duncan Seaman. So imagine how good that team would be. Those two with McKinnon, Rantanen, Duchesne might still be there. That offense would be insane. Again, Scheifele, I think, is just a very, very good player. Probably has one of the best contracts in the NHL. A lot of people say, you know, 2 of the best contracts in the NHL are Scheifele and McKinnon. So the Avs now have both. I mean, you could have those 2 guys making $12 million, or you can have McDavid making $12 million. I love McDavid, but I'm going to go with McKinnon and Scheifele over him every single day. So great pick there for the Avalanche. And as already mentioned, at number 1, we have the Edmonton Oilers taking Nikita Kucherov. Originally picked number 58 by the Tampa Bay Lightning, so they get a couple steals in this draft, Kucherov and Palat. Just kind of crazy, honestly, how good that pick was. Top 5 player in the NHL right now. He took home every single award last year. Nugent Hopkins, like I mentioned, I don't think was that bad a pick at all for Edmonton at first overall. He was pretty much the consensus first overall pick. Just turns out Kucherov was a diamond in the rough that no one other than Yzerman knew about. And having said that, guys, it would actually hurt me so much. If you go and look at the 2011 draft, Kucherov got taken 58, so the 3rd last pick in the 2nd round. The Red Wings had 3 picks in the 2nd round and passed on them all 3 times. I think we took like Thomas Yurko, Xavier Ouellet, and Ryan Sproul. So 3 guys who were always fringe NHLers, never really established themselves as an NHL player, and waiting behind all 3 of them was Kucherov. Detroit loves their Russians. Like, What was Holland doing? How do you not just take a chance on this Russian kid? He was playing in the queue as well, so you know he's going to play in the NHL. It just hurts me, honestly, looking back at that. But hopefully, Detroit gets first overall this year, makes up for all of that. And that's going to be it, guys, for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you'd like to see more redrafts from me, let me know. I feel like the 2011 draft was definitely an interesting one. So I had a lot of fun with it. And if you guys want to see me do another one, make sure to leave a thumbs up on this video. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day.